of Maruti that are just flashing at the bottom of your screen. It's a net profit of 3,525 crore, which favors or comparably favors when you're comparing it to our poll, which was slightly lower at 3,474 crore. The stock now near the day's highest point at 12,231. Revenues, when you're looking at it, once again, over 38,490 crore versus a poll largely in line. In fact, a slight miss, if you could call it that, a 300 crore miss as far as the top line is concerned. We're waiting for the EBITDA and the margin numbers. Remember, we do have the volume figures as far as Maruti is concerned. And earlier, at the end of H1, Maruti had guided the moderation as far as PV segment was concerned, especially for the second half of the rest of the year. But the numbers compared to the poll compare quite favorably. In fact, how much you want to say?
The EBITDA figure as well, right? 4,470 crores. That too is in line with expectations. There is nothing that is beyond what the street was anticipating for Maruti. Well, the revenue figure is a marginal miss on expectations, if you could call it that. The net profit is in line with expectations, as is the EBITDA figure, the average selling price, and some other factors. The investor presentation is what will be keen to watch out for. The volumes for Maruti were up 13% on a year-on-year basis. They increased by 5% sequentially as well. So we'll watch out for some of the other numbers, and the margin figure there at 11.6% compared to the CNBC-TV18 poll of 11.4%. So absolutely in line with expectations.
Well, we have Prakash Diwan joining us on the phone line to discuss Maruti's numbers. Welcome, Prakash. Thank you so much for joining us. What's your first take as far as Maruti is concerned? We knew the volume numbers, but there were worries as far as the realization was concerned, right?
So, this has been a tough quarter for most players, and especially after, the onslaught of electric vehicles. Maruti was struggling or was expected to be finding it difficult to grow realizations. But I think these numbers are definitely very comforting. And in spite of all the in terms of wholesale numbers growing and all, this will set expectations right, and it's just another normal quarter of growth and not a hyper growth that was being penciled in from the wholesale numbers. So this sets the tone for them to probably close the year by March with decent numbers. But there's nothing very spectacular about the earnings, but at the same time, there's nothing disastrous about the earnings as well.
Nothing spectacular, and that's showing in the stock as well, right? It's cooled off from the highs of the day. Now it's slipped into the red now has Maruti. But Prakash, good afternoon. What would you like to hear from the management when they address the media after these numbers that have come in on the road ahead, their electric vehicle plans? Because there is competition that has been launching electric vehicles left, right and center. What would you like to hear the management?
Oh, absolutely, always. So while they are late in the day to come in the EV segment, and the likes of Mahindra and Tata have really marched ahead with very tried and tested products. And remember, the rollout of electric vehicles is anyway still some time away. It's June when you'll see them on the road, and things will start perking up. I want to hear from the management in terms of what is their focus on product launches in the IC category also, because they've not had any new launches after the Fronx, and that's done well for them. Are they deepening that portfolio? Are they getting into more variants on the SUV side? So that is something where utilization levels of such a big capex that they've done will also start kind of getting some visibility, and that is what the market would like to see, so that return ratios start improving now that the investments have all been done, and how quickly things start looking up in terms of utilization. So I would want to hear that, and that also means that realization trends will probably be better and favorable. So that's what we would like to hear from the company.
Right. Interesting.
Well, we also have Naveen Kulkarni, Chief Investment Officer at Access Securities, joining us on the phone line to discuss Maruti's numbers. Naveen, I hope you've had a chance to look at the numbers. Well, the margin numbers too are out. How are you looking at the numbers? Are you satisfied with the margin profile? And what would you want to hear from the management later on?
Yeah, so looking at the margin performance, we were expecting margin to be a little lower than what Maruti has reported. So that's a positive surprise for us, clearly. So 11.6% margin compared to our expectation of 11.3%. So the margin number is definitely better. Also, the PAT growth is better than our expectations. So overall, I would say that considering typically in auto sector, the auto numbers are out before the results, right? So revenue numbers are generally in the expected zone. The focus typically during the results tends to be on margins. And considering that we were expecting higher discounting, higher advertising expenses, all those factors put together, Maruti still has managed to report a good set of numbers, which is beat on our expectations. So I would say that these are good set of numbers for Maruti.
Yeah, good numbers, Naveen, but would the street be happy with just good, considering the situation that has been going around? More importantly, the stock has run up as well, right? It's up around 13-14% in the last 1 month. Does that do anything, or do these numbers do anything to tweak your estimates on the stock?
So I will have to listen to the conference call and figure out what could be the upgrades or in terms of the earnings. But see, overall, if I were to look at Maruti from a little longer term perspective, Maruti compared to many of the other auto stocks has not been a top performer. It has done well in the recent couple of months, but that also is to do with valuations being quite reasonable, numbers being good monthly, right? So there's a lot of operating metrics which are supporting the run up in the stock price, right? So I would say that going ahead, of course, the focus will be on new product launches and maybe even electric vehicles segment, what they will do in that, right? So those will be the areas of focus. But I would say that as long as the monthly numbers continue to remain at decent levels, I think Maruti should continue to perform from current levels.
That's right. Thank you so much, Naveen. Thank you so much, Prakash, for joining us and giving us your first take as far as Maruti numbers are concerned. Maruti has cooled off and now trading near the flat line. But going back to the